All right, so with my handsome Mr. Z, ready, Zeus? So I wanted to warm up with a little bit with some weight behaviors. So I don't remember Mr. W, he says, I would also like to partake. So we're just gonna throw out a couple little find its, get him in the groove. He's like, lady, I lost that one. So when your babe is gonna be practicing some weight behaviors, wait again is where I have the puppy hold back and they're gonna get called to you. So typically you could use your word here or come, or if there's another slogan you guys prefer. You would not wanna confuse your waits and stays. So I know some folks have done them interchangeably, and I feel that can be really confusing to your dog and also creates moments where your dog might break more than not. So what I mean by break, it means they get up and wiggle when they maybe weren't supposed to. So I'm gonna tell him to wait, see if we can add a little step away from him. If, let's say, me adding distance was too challenging, I wouldn't start there. So again, Zeus, come. Yes. So if, again, let's say being stationary is really hard for your dog, I would first start off with, let's say, a find it, get them up and wiggling so they can use some of their energy, and then Zeus, come, and then work that lovely recall from a find it. The other option, again, is then when your dog is getting more cozy, is to set them up in either a sit or a down, have them wait, and then see, that's an awkward sit. If, let's say, he breaks because he's a little eager beaver, we could then just reset him up. Ready, sit. He's like, lady, I'm starving. Again, wait. If, let's say, taking steps away was too hard for Mr. Z, I would stay right here next to him, go, Zeus, come, and bring him into my space from literally like a foot or two away. So remember, I know we've discussed this prior, but think about your 3Ds when you're practicing. So that is your duration, your distances, and your distraction level while you're working on skills with your dog. So again, we're gonna get a little sit from him. He's like, lady, how about backing? Backing's a nice exercise too. So again, we're gonna tell him to wait. If, let's say, moving away was too challenging, I would start off with doing a few steps from side to side. So I don't care if he would rather, for now, rock a down position. Mr. W says, worst day, where's my snacks? They're coming eventually. So let's say Mr. Handsome right now is working a very nice down weight situation. We wanna make sure, though, that if, let's say, you really wanted a sit weight, is you'd go back, help him go back into sit, maybe do a shorter duration for your sit, and then call him before he goes and moves positions. The other option, though, is if, let's say, your dog does better in a down weight, start there if that seems to be the easier, more attainable setup for them. So while he's waiting, I could then still go and do other things, be a little distracting. But remember, with the weight, they're waiting until you call them to you, or they're waiting until they get released to go grab something. So, excuse me, I did have a drink because I got a tickle mid-film. So if, let's say, we get a little break and we didn't want one yet, we're gonna go ahead, reset them up. I was, again, just seeing how far we could go and generalize the skill. So ready, sit. He's like, okay, we're gonna feed him for that because they're really pretty. We might go into our down. Oh, that's very nice. And then yes, we're holding feet. And I'm gonna tell him to, again, wait, and just hold it for a few less seconds. So if you have a moment where your puppy fails, keep it shorter for greater success. So now I might go, Zeus, come. Yes. But if your puppy is a wiggly worm and they're really having a challenging moment being stationary, go into a find it, let them get up and do some wiggles, and then from there, Zeus, come. Work that recall. So you can sometimes break it up, give them little breaks or intermissions through some of the practice, so it's not always as challenging every time. So I sometimes like to do like easy, challenging, easy, and then maybe another little moment where it's sort of medium difficulty and go from there. So I'm gonna go wait. I'm gonna see if I can have him just hold back for a few seconds. Nice. And then Zeus, come. Smart man. So remember, as we're starting to generalize some of these lovely recalls from our weights, we may at times want to practice sometimes calling them stationary, sometimes when you're moving, sometimes when you're facing them or moving in an opposite direction, like your back end facing them. He's got to go grab a drink. Because if every time we're like a robot, we back away and then we call them a certain way, what happens when we're no longer looking that way? Or what happens when, for example, when you call them, you might be out of range physically, so he can't see you. So I'd highly recommend to make sure that you're using both a visual and a verbal cue, so your babe can then start to understand both. So that way, if you're, again, out of physical range where he can't see you, he can hear you. And then vice versa. If he couldn't hear you, he could maybe physically see the hand signal, and that might be an option too. So thirsty. So once he's done chugging the whole bowl practically, he's a camel, he's got to tank back up. So right here, I'm gonna go, Zeus, come. Are you bringing your chew with you? Oh, good job. He says, never mind. I know I have a few of his chew items that he was brought in with over in the side section over there in case they want a recess to chew stuff. So Mr. W says, worst day ever, why is it not my turn? Mr. T is doing stellar. He's hanging out in my little other little section with a few chew items. And then that way he can enjoy some decompression while he's getting comfortable with what is doggy day school. So ready, Zeus? Come. He's like, hold up, lady. It's a good distraction over here. Ready? So if let's say I didn't get his attention, I might go a little closer. Zeus, ready? And I know I'm out of camera range. Ready? Right here. Nice, good job. So if let's say your babe does not respond when you ask them to check in, don't keep repeating it over and over. So again, wait. So I said his name and I tried doing, again, the recall. So Zeus, come. And he didn't respond the first time. So I went a little bit closer, which was out of camera range. And then I go to try to help him be successful the second time. If nothing happens because it's just too challenging, he's actually now more intrigued by the chews than he is sometimes working. And he's getting tired, which makes complete sense. So, and then also when your pups are adolescents, especially, they're still feeling, again, those big emotions like we mentioned, and sometimes chewing on stuff helps them regulate and sort of decompress, but also gives them a very natural doggy response for getting stressed out. And it feels good for them. And then it also raises serotonin and dopamine while lowering stress hormones like cortisol. So chewing has got a lot of great value for your dogs, even if, let's say, for example, you feel like they're adult dogs. Chewing is something that, because we bred dogs to stay puppy-like forever, unlike some other animals, once they become more mature, they don't do the same things they did when they were babies. Dogs, for example, still tend to act very much like puppies. And that's why sometimes like the chewing and mouthing behaviors never go away, but you can hopefully redirect and teach them to do the appropriate items. So ready, we'll get another little sit. We're gonna tell them to wait. And again, we got some good noises from the classroom. The fan just came on because of the heat again. And also there's Mr. W, when he shakes his little harness, makes clinking noises. So let's say Mr. Z says, lady, I'm getting frustrated. So there's gonna be moments where your babes, ready, get a little bit tired and a little bit mouthy. So we're gonna get a little sit if we can. He's like, I'd rather just talk back. If he's a little bit unsure, maybe we'll do right there. Yes, I'm gonna tell him to wait. Just get one little second of something successful. Come and give him a little breather. So remember that when your babes are giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. So he is just saying, you know what, I'm getting tired. I'd rather go do this other thing. While he's enjoying that chew, I'm actually gonna grab his cot and we're gonna practice a little bit with, if let's say he's feeling a little fatigued, we're gonna do a little bit with our target. So nice job, sir. So remember the benefit of sometimes being able to have a game plan that can change means that you can be more successful in not really having an expectation and then getting frustrated or sad or overwhelmed that you didn't achieve it. So I like to sometimes have like maybe a few ideas of what I'd like to work on, but all of a sudden maybe my dog is not feeling it or the environment is too stimulating, and we might have to then choose to either lower the criteria from what I was expecting or to make the setup more attainable from their perspective. So like right now, Mr. Handsome decided to go and decide, delicious, go for his chew toy, perfectly fine. So we did a couple great reps of recall from, let's say, our find its, and we did some really nice reps of recall from wait. So right now, maybe if he finds that maybe being stationary seems much more attainable, we're gonna work a bit with stay. So this way, again, if you're really having a rough time with your babe, don't feel that it always has to be the exact same game plan every time. So I'm going to tell Mr. Handsome Pants to stay, excuse me, and I should not be drinking seltzer. So let's say while my dog is in a stay, you saw how earlier with a wait, he gets called to you. With stay, they are stuck in their stationary position until you go and retrieve them. So the way to build up stay behavior as being a good idea is to feed them intermittently a couple snacks while they're rocking their sit or down stay. I especially love to pair my stays, especially for youngsters or dogs that are having a hard time relaxing and taking breaks, with sometimes a dog bed or a cot. This way, as we're building up that we can hang out on our spot and good things can occur to them. So let's say he's chewing, he's also getting, ready, Zeusy? He's also getting extra bonus bits for hanging out. So if though, let's say you're trying to help them get more comfortable with slowly generalizing skills, you could then try and maybe you load up the dishwasher, or you're making something in the kitchen and your dog has to hold back and stay on that spot. I sometimes then go and feed a couple crumbs while they're on the bed, and you can actually feed right on the bed or the cot or the blanket, whatever you might be using. If your babes tend to want to destroy certain household items, even if they're supposed to be for dogs or puppies, I'd recommend to, for example, only take out the dog cot or the bed or the blanket when you're going to be there to help them and supervise them and teach them what maybe a dog bed or blanket is. From your dog's perspective, remember that this could very much so be like another big plushie item. So what's the difference really for them between a plushie stuffed animal that you've given them for a toy and a plushie dog bed? A lot of times it can be very similar materials. It can feel very similar texture-wise as well. And sometimes it even has very similar aromas. So if your babe is still figuring out what is an appropriate chew item, your best bet is make sure through prevention and management, the only options for them are to chew on the correct items, and then throw in some of those novel things down the road as they're becoming very successful with going for the appropriate things. So right here, this is really pretty. So he could be multitasking. He could be chewing on his bone if he wanted to, which right now he's kind of over it. He's just enjoying the snacks. So for my stay again, he's being fed for being stuck. I'm trying to get him comfortable with me sometimes moving around the environment and not always coming at him at the exact same angle or at the same exact sort of position. And sometimes I will have longer periods between a snack and then shorter periods. So those 3Ds, like we mentioned earlier, are really important to help you and your babe generalize different skill sets. So let's say I wanted to end my stay. I like to then go back to my pup, feed them while they're still in their stay. So right now, the benefit of being stuck is when you're stuck, you get your snacks. So for example, stay is like freeze tag with room service. They're stuck in their spot until you end the game. So I might say, ready, all done. And then I might wiggle my fingers. He's like, duh, I don't know if I want to get up. If your babe, again, sometimes we get there we go, beautiful. But if your babe ever, I'm sorry, I should have brought cough drops. And now my throat is very tickly. And I think it's because of the dry heat. I'm so sorry about coughing in the mic. Oh, and of course I put my drink a little further away this time. So I'm going to go over my little fence again. I'm so sorry. Grab my water. I'm going to bring it to my side over here so we can have it available. He's like, you're a crazy lady. I know, don't mind me as my attempt to go over the hurdles is really entertaining. All right, so I'll plop this bad boy maybe just over here so it's nearby. It'll maybe blend with my wall slightly. So ready, Zeus? So if you're by accident calling your dog with a recall from their stay position, you are then making it sometimes beneficial to leave the stay to get a paycheck or to be free again. So I would highly recommend, think about stay like freeze tag with room service. Ready, Zeus? Where being stationary, I'm so sorry, has the better value. So we'll see if we can bring them back on. You're halfway on, that still counts. Nice job. Ready? So we'll see if we can bring him all the way. He's like, oh, so close. Nice. And then we'll try for that down. You lost your snack. You're going to lay on it. Here you go. So let's say my gorgeous guy is now again in a down position. You could apply your stay, and then you could start adding some movement. I know Mr. Hansen says, when's it my turn? Crazy lady. So again, my crumbs, I made them itty bitty from those little hot dog sausage things that, pre-made goodies for him. Because even though they're sort of smaller training treats, I feel like they're a little bit bigger than they need to be. And remember, the smaller your treats, the more reps you can do. So I like to have treats be so small, they're like maybe half of a pencil eraser, cut in half. Nice. But again, Mr. Z is doing a really good job with the distractions of the other classmates because Mr. W says, woe is me, I would really love to partake. So there will be nice moments where even though the classmates are not all working the same skills at the same time, they're still getting to help themselves get more familiar with the novelty that is other beauties doing one thing while they're doing another. So right here, again, we're feeding all of our reps while in the stay, not for leaving it. For stay, I do recommend pick a slogan, which means you're going to be finished with the exercise. So again, I don't want to really confuse him, but normally for me, I say all done. Other folks might say release, free time, all set. You can make it fancy like party, whatever you'd like. But I wouldn't use the word okay because we use it so often. So you could be on the phone, okay, and the dog breaks from their position. Or you say okay for sometimes a recall from a wait, or you say okay to move and grab a toy. I find that sometimes having very generic words can be very confusing. Nice. So let's say he broke. He's not in trouble. He's not going to get scolded. We're just going to start again. If my babe could not handle starting again because maybe there was a loud noise, there was a scary something, there was something too exciting, I'm not going to force the downstay and make him work this place, because then I might create a negative association with the situation that he's working on. So right now he hears the other pups sort of talking and whining, and he says, why can't I go wrestle too? So if I lose him, I might go, Zeus, yes, I'm going to feed him for checking back in. So there's some glimmer of that nice success there. And then we could work our stay again. But Mr. Z might actually have to go to the restroom as well. So, but don't feel you always have to end. Susie, ready? Don't feel you always have to end on the actual thing you were working on. So if let's say you got overwhelmed because you got into a fender bender, you don't have to finish your car ride home if you're not feeling comfortable. So the same thing for your dog is just because he started working a stay position on his bed, but let's say he's not feeling completely comfortable or he's distracted or he's just not feeling something, he doesn't have to finish working the skill if it's past his comfort range or understanding for the time frame. If I force the situation on him, I might technically ruin that stay is really lame, that when things get hard, I have to get stuck, and now when I'm overwhelmed, I feel trapped. So we don't want to create more potential negative associations when we're training. We want to create the ability to, if you make a mistake, you're not going to get in trouble. If you're confused, I'm going to help you. And if you're struggling, we can go at your rate so we can be successful again later down the road. So, but for Mr. Z, I'm probably going to give him a little break because he is getting a little tired. And he did a really great job again for day number 2 for Mr. Handsome over here. And we'll just keep working it. You know, if there's certain skills that you guys are having a challenging time with, you know, feel free to email me throughout the week or the sessions. So that way I can make sure that what I'm working on are the skills or the concepts or the things you're struggling with, so we can make sure that we're touching base on those topics too. Such a smart boy. But if let's say we wanted to end the stay because he's doing such a nice job, I'm going to again feed him for while he's in the stay. And then I would go, ready, Zeus? He's like, hold on, I dropped a crumb. And I'd say, ready, all done. And then we'd try and get up. He's like, oh, so much work. I know there's one under his belly. He has to find that one first. But let's say your puppy does get stuck, right? Zeusy. There we go. Good job. Is we try to not call him from the place or the stay position. Try to help him get up and wiggle with you so there's no recall. The recall I would just do in general from like distractions or things and places, or do a wait with then a recall to you. But stay involves no recalls. Ready? Handsome boy. Nice job. We'll do another little find it just for making it easy. And we'll give Mr. Z a little break, but he did such a good job.